Welcome back to Shadowrun Dragonfall, everyone. We're sort of taking care of the dialogue options at the moment. Now, that's a shame. I was hoping that we could. I was hoping that we would be able to equip some of the other party members' equipment, but alas, not. That's just how it is. Iger turns to face you, a pained look on her face. Look, I owe you an apology. I'm listening, you say coldly. When Monica died, I was pissed. It probably didn't come as a huge surprise, but I took the anger out on you and I shouldn't have. Seeing Winter's body like that was enough to convince me. You couldn't have done anything to help Monica, and I couldn't have either. We're dealing with something new. Monica was a good friend of mine. Her death hurt. I got carried away, and I should say something. I said something that I shouldn't have. I want to apologise for that. Her body relaxed. She pissed away. Anyway, that's all I have to say. There are a few things I want to say, you say. She stops, turns back. You can see the wariness in her eyes. Go ahead. Nobody's stopping you. I accept your apology, but if you ever insult me in front of the team again, you're going to regret it. That's a promise. But we cast apology changes nothing. Your behaviour after Monica's death is inexcusable. I accept your apology, but if you ever insult me in front of the team again, you're going to regret it. That's a promise. Let's go with that. She nods appreciatively. Some backbone. That's good to see. Remember, because we were told in the original message for Monica to stand up to her. Don't worry, Black Knight, I won't question you confidence again, not in front of the others at least, but I won't lie to have concerns about you. That's your prerogative, but don't forget who leads this team. To hell with your concerns, I have nothing to prove to you. What kind of concerns? That's your prerogative, but don't forget who leads this team. Don't worry, I won't. She turns away. You should go, fearless leader. You've got prep work to do for our next run, and you've got more important things to do than watch me pack my gear. Right here. Glory! Glory's expression remains distant, but her lips curl up with a hint of smile. Need something? Everything still okay with you? No need to worry, Black Knight. I'm fine. I still like to know more about that chrome you're sporting. That's not a story that I'm interested in telling out of context. If you wanted to get into it, we're going to need to go back, way back. She stares at you with a cold, dead eye. I'm not sure you want to do that. You say that you will give me answers when we talked about your past, so let's talk about it. Why do you care? There's no hostility in her voice. If anything, she sounds suspicious. Because I'm the leader of the team, and I need to know as much as I can about the runners who work with me. That actually is professional, like Kuro. That actually is something, because if you are leading a unit, you need to know any sort of weaknesses they may have. He paused for a moment, considering nods. All right, fine, we'll talk, but we do it on my terms. This is a long story, Black Knight, long and ugly and cruel. Are you sure you want to hear this? Please. All right, I'm going to start from the beginning, not for you, but for me. I guess that might help me say all of this out loud. She takes a deep breath, then slowly releases it. When she speaks, her voice comes out in a cool monotone. My family lived in Stuttgart. It was a nice enough place, I suppose. My parents worked as wage slaves for the IFMU. My mum was a good person. Once upon a time, my father was a decent person as well. That's what Mum always told me, but I never knew him that way. She pauses for a long moment. When she begins speaking again, some of the ice has fallen away from her voice. For the first time since you've met her, Glory sounds alive. The dad that I knew was old, damaged Euro war veteran who turned to hardline religion to make sense of the world. In Stuttgart, that meant either the Ritter Christa or their fascist cousins, the Kreuzritters. My father chose the latter path. I still remember hiding in my room when my father had his Kreuzritter brothers over to prayer group. They would drink and get rowdy, then spend an hour or two riling themselves up with talks about heretics and the devil's work. Then they'd go find some poor elf or dwarf, stomp the living shit out of them, and drown him in the Neckar. Meanwhile, I'd be held up at home with Mum, who would commiserate the event by drinking a bottle of wine and crying herself to sleep. Just an elf with dwarves, I assume, but a mage, so other orc would have made more tempting targets. I'd like to get my hands on your dad and his crusaders, so they see how they like pushing someone who pushes back. Just elves and dwarves, I'd assume that a mage or an orc would have been a more tempting target, you say. What, you mean picking on victim who could fight back? Glory shakes her head. No, my father and his pack of jackals weren't up for that kind of trouble. They had more than enough of a real combat when they were young men back in the Euro Wars. They just wanted to feel big and in control of their lives again, and didn't matter to them who they hurt in the process. Anyway, aside from the fact that my dad and his buddies were a bunch of murderous assholes, life was pretty normal. I went to school, made friends, hang out with my mum, kid stuff. Then I turned 14 and everything went to shit. Glory pauses, then she swallows hard. Ever so slightly, her cheeks flushed red. Suddenly she looks self-conscious, as if she could snap out of the trance. As quickly as it came, the flash of emotion disappears. Her voice frosts over. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Airing stuff out is clearly helping you to work through it. Keep going, Glory. This was just getting good. You don't need to say anything if you don't want to, but if you want to talk... Let's go this one. Airing stuff out is clearly helping you work through it. Yes, it is. Glory stares at you with cold, dark eyes, but I'm not going to be able to get through this in one sitting. You need to understand that. She turns away from you. Her movement is mechanical. Now, let's get back to the job at hand, shall we? Okay, so we've done that. Talk to everyone besides the main missing contact. Amzel. Amzel's expression is hard when you've seen it before. When you speak, his voice is grim. Edgar has told me of Greenwinter's death. She said that he died in the same manner that Monica did. It's seen worse. She shouldn't have done that. Speaking for the team is my job, not hers. It wasn't a pretty sight, you mutter. Amzel nods gravely. I know that you and Iger have had your differences. I will tell you that she was badly shaken by the sight of Winter's body. She also mentioned that you found something in Winter's safe, a package full of very old discs. May I see them? You hand over the discs, of course. Good God. Gingerly, Amzel lifts the disc from the bundle and holds it up to the light. Slowly, he begins to turn it in his hands, causing rainbow patterns to simmer across his face. I haven't seen one of these since I was a boy. These are DVD... Yeah, they're DVDs. These are DVDs, a data storage medium from the mid-2000s. I'm amazed that Winter was able to find a device that could play them. Do you know how he can read these things? He puts down the DVD in his hands and quickly inspects the others. The first disc that I looked at might be readable. The others are damaged, some severely so. I have my doubts about them. For now, let's concentrate on the undamaged disc. There are a little shop outside, the Data Haven. Talk to the proprietor, Milt Holly. She might be able to help. Tell her to put across the device of my tab. I'm on it. Why don't you do it yourself? This might come as a shock, but I'm not your errand. No, that seems a bit brutal. You're doing the same thing after all. Don't think anybody has else. Yeah, no one has anything else we can talk about. Yeah, that's who it is. So we've got 1,000. If I could sell the pistol. Welcome back. What can I do for you? I'm looking for something that can play back a DVD RW. I need some tech. Let's go. I'm looking for something that can play back DVD. Really? This is old tech, very old. In fact, just a moment. I'll go look. She turns to rummage through a bin of obsolete components at the back of her stall. Ah, yes, here we are. The dwarf wrestles a mid-sized flat-screen display out of the bin. This display is old enough to hook up to connect to a DVD player. RCA, vintage. The player itself, though, this I do not have. You may wish to try your luck down at the junkyard. There's a scavenger there, a primitive man with a crude disposition. If anyone here in the bazaar can help you find your DVD player, he can, but he most certainly attempt to overcharge you for it. She takes a deep breath and smiles at you. But you're not here for gossip. Shall we consider our business? I'll give you a display for, say, 200 new yen. Paul Amzel says to charge it to his account. Very well. I will package it up and deliver it to Herr Amzel straight away. Best of luck finding your DVD reader. I wish you well. Right, so we have just over 1,000 new yen. Can't afford any of the robots. I probably should save up to get the next attack robot, which will cost me a bit of money to do. Already talked to everyone that I can. Let's see. So this is the scrapyard. Oh, before we go any further, I just remembered. We have karma points. Now, we have 9 karma points. Getting intelligence up to 6 is probably a good thing to do, which will set us up nicely. But if we get 6, we can't get anything really of use in here besides maybe the 3rd level of combat drone, which could be nice. +1 dodge. So we can get something else. I could invest it in charisma, get the 5th level of charisma up, which would get us close to our next etiquette. But I will boost. I'm going to boost my int up because int is really important. Biotech I have no use for. We can't get the next level of that. These are pretty important for my combat droid, so I'm going to grab the next level of that and we're out of karma. So out of yeah, we are out of karma. So the later ones I'm not that interested in. Not right now anyway. What I would like to get hold of though is the ability to use Class A droids would be nice. ESP control is important. These are important as well to be able to equip the more powerful decks. We also need to think about charisma to get charisma high enough. Okay, so our karma is spent. Let's go and talk to this bloke. A stout old man looks up at you from whatever old tech he's tinkering with to squat at you through thick, old-fashioned glasses. He pushes them up with an old oil-stained finger as he straightens up to nod at you. He speaks with a gruff but well-meaning tone, heavily accented with German tonality. Guten Tag. What can I do for you? Mort tells me you're a man to speak about DVDs. That little shrew sent you my way, huh? His gruff smile broadens. Wonders never cease. Well, instructions are in order, I suppose. Scruter Booman at your service. The old man raises a grime hammer and salute. Need something salvaged? Some old components? Vintage? I'm your man. Wonderful. How about a DVD player? Let's see. I think you've got something that'll work for you. Scruter rummages through the junk heap on the table behind him. A few seconds later, he snatches a battered plastic lozenge shape from the pile. Ah, here we go. An old Korean player that I dug up last week. 2010 model, a real beauty. Smile broadens and he gives you a conspicuous wink. I'll fix her up and get her running, but without any discs to read, I've mostly been using her as a paperweight. Sounds like what I'm looking for. How much do you want for it? Scotter glances back at the DVD player, a rueful expression on his face. Well, I admit I'm a little loath to part with her. There's plenty of folks out there who would really appreciate an older player such as this. I don't know what your intentions are for it. I suppose, given the time and trouble I took putting her back together, I'll be willing to part with her for, let's say, Scott's eyes dart over to his gig, calculating expressing his face. 500 new yen? That's ridiculous. I could pay for a new tried vid player for that. Yeah, but you get one for here. But you can get one of those anywhere. You ain't going to find another one of these anytime soon. But it's not like I can offer it to buy it for you every day, so I'll cut you a deal. How about 350? Half that, and you'll get yourself a deal. You gotta love charisma free. I'm not overly fond of your tone, but it's not every day I even get asked to sell in my products. 175 new yen, if you please. Hand over the cred stick. Skip gingerly picks up the ancient device from the table and presses it into your hands. The plastic is scuffed and worn, and it rattles a bit when you move it. Give her some good use, okay? Okay, so we lost... Yeah, we lost a good chunk. Well, not a good chunk, but we lost a percentage of our money. I'm not going to sell the pistol, because in case I can actually use the pistol for something else. In case I can like equip one of my squad mates with better weapons. I haven't seen the ability to do that, so I don't know if it's able. But we just have to be careful in case we can, because it's supposed to be quite a good pistol. Right, we're all back here. We can't talk to anyone. We can talk to Paul though. It seems that Amsal has assembled a team in your absence. They stand in a group around the old display that you had Mill to deliver. On their faces you can see excitement, apprehension, curiosity and dread. Black Knight, have you procured a DVD player? Hand over the DVD player. Here it is. Good. This should only take a moment. Amsal disappears behind the ancient display. After a few minutes of fiddling with the battered inputs, he reappears, a satisfied look on his face. Everything appears to be functioning. The disc should be ready to play. Well, you don't keep us in suspense. Start the damn thing up already. Black Knight went through the trouble of fetching everything. Let her do the honours. Amsel steps back, clearing a path for you to access the antique machine. Here we go. A soft whining sound fills the air as the ancient DVD player spins the disc up to speed. The scratching LCD player comes to life and a menu fills the screen. Play track 1. The screen goes black and a cheerful digital chime sound spills out of the display speaker. The crackling of static fills the air, coupled with a shrill electronic whine. After a few moments, the display goes live. A dissevered-looking man appears on his screen, the eyes glittering with excitement. The timestamp reads 2034 of the 9th 15. Heim, I think we found her. After all this time, Fussfinger, basically Firewing. I knew that she wasn't dead. His speech is jittery. You can hear the urgency in his voice. She survived the Dragonfall, just as I always said. I knew it, and I was right. The screen explodes into static. The electronic whine in the background sharpens into a needle-like pulse of high-pitched sound. Somewhere in the background, Dante lets out a low whimper. The screen clears and the excited face is closer to the screen than it was before. The words spill out of him in a breathless tide. Taking a team into the socks to retrieve her. The radiation be damned. We would take the appropriate precautions, of course, but we must go. Heim, I think that the body may be nearby as well. Somehow, she has survived for all this time. The screen explodes into static again, then clears. The figure flickers across the screen. May not be back for some time. Look after Mum, okay? I'm worried about her. And Hermie, stay safe out there. I know that things are heating up in Berlin, and I know you. Student protest, civil unrest, you'll be in the middle of it, I'm sure. Just stay safe, all right? I'll do my best to do the same. I don't know what's going to happen when I step into the socks, but I do know one thing. If Firewing is still a danger, I will put an end to her once and for all. Display goes to black. Okay, play track 2. The screen goes black for a moment, and then a figure appears on screen, your late client, Green Winters. His elbow is planted on the table that he's seated at, and his chin rests in his palms. The other hand is wrapped around a bottle of cheap whiskey. Timestamp 2053, the 12th 12:25. Found the message Adrian left me all those years ago. Got it cleaned up as best I could. Strange hearing his voice again. He pauses to take a long pull of his bottle. It's good to hear him, even if he did insist on calling me Hermie. Dr. Adrian Valclair, the hero of the people, the Dragon Slayer, my brother. He grimaces and rubs his eyes. Hard to believe, it's almost been 20 years. Alright, so I'm going to start recording these DVDs again for me, for Adrian, for whoever might wind up watching them. Every time I do this, it winds up feeling like a waste of time, but I keep doing it anyway on the off chance that I find something important. If I stumble into a clue that leads me to my brother, I know what I'm going to want it on film. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, after all. No sense in quitting now. Christ, 20 years, all this time, still no leads. Even with all my contacts and my resources, he takes another long swallow of cheap liquor. Even with my legendary bullheadedness, I've made no progress at all. I haven't turned up a single goddamn thing. Want to hear something funny? The closest I've gotten to clue was a rumour. Apparently a team emerged from the socks a while back. Nobody's clear on the data And get this, he leans into the camera and gives a conspiracy whisper wink. Supposedly they vanished without a trace. He upends the bottle, drains it, slams it back down to the table. His eyes are rimmed with red. Not much of a rumour, considering I already know that you're gone, big brother. I live with that every day. Play track 3. The grinding sound DVD from the DVD tray and Greenwind's image appears on the screen. This is an eager look on his face. So this is a year later in 2054, the 10th month of the 12th day. Stumbling around this archive footage of Feuerschwinge's origin attack months before the Dragonfall, easy to forget how devastating it was. Adrian saved a lot of people by bringing her down. I've got the footage all queued up to play, starting it now, just no comments to follow. The slow whir of the DVD player shifts to a high-pitched whine. A distorted, waving image blooms into being on the screen. A timestamp in the upper right-hand corner of the screen marks the date July the 6th, 2012. It's difficult to make out when you're seeing at first. The scene is dark and smoky, and the telltale flash of emergency vehicle's lights flicker on the periphery of the screen. The camera pushes in, and you can make out two figures standing in the ruins. All at once, the sound cuts in. Report again. Those of you who are just joining us, we are coming to you live from Strulberg. A few hours ago, the Dragon Feuerschwinge launched an unprovoked attack on the sleepy Haas mountain town. You can see the result behind me: fire, ash, death. We are joined tonight by a survivor of this latest and a more horrific attack. The reporter turns to face a pale man standing behind you. Sir, I understand you have been through a terrible ordeal. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us tonight. Survivor. The camera focuses to a middle-aged man with a haunted look in his eyes, stammering out a reply. Yes, of course. If you could, sir, could you please tell the people at home about your experience with the attack? It was horrible. Just pure chaos. So many people dead, people I knew, roasted alive or trampled to death trying to escape. My own house was burned to the ground during my attack. My family, we have nothing now. You all made it for the attack, though? Your wife, your kids? Yes, we all made it, thank God. We rolled out the attack in a small shelter, me, my wife, and our two daughters. The shelter has protected us, but the heat was just unbearable. We couldn't have stayed in there much longer than we did. How long will you hold up in there? 3, maybe 4 hours? I don't know. We just stayed inside until the heat died down and screaming stopped. And what happened after that? Says the reporter. When it was all over, when the air cooled down, the reporter nods and the man continues. We stepped outside. There was nothing left, just smouldering wreckage, and this dense cloud of black, oily smoke, and the stench in the air. God, that smell. It smelled like roasted meat. There's a long pause. From a tortured look on his face, you can tell that the man is struggling to decide whether or not to continue speaking. Eventually he does. My girls, they found what was left of their nanny outside her body. What was left of it was slumped against the shelter door. I keep telling myself I couldn't hear her pounding to get in, but that isn't true. I could. I just couldn't bring myself to open the door. I couldn't risk my family like that. Not for her. Not for anyone. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to speak with us. Yeah, the man mutters. You heard it here. Absolute chilling account of tonight's attack. Again, the town of Stolberg has been reduced to ashes. Another victim of the fire wing. Stay with us from ultimate reporting on Feuerschwinge's reign of terror. Greenwind's face appears on the screen. Okay, it's time for a new approach. Adrian's a complete dead end. That much is pretty clear by now, so I'm going to go do some digging on Feuerschwinge instead. Let's see where this goes. Track number 4. The DVD player ramps up to speed. So this is from 2054, the 10th month, the 31st day. Well, that was a bust. Little progress on the fire wing either. He shakes his head. I don't know, it's weird. The information is here. It's just wrong somehow. Too well laid out, too simple. Real life is messy, and this feels just too a little neat. That's not the only thing that's nagging at me. I'm getting this tingling feeling all up down the back of my neck again. It feels like I'm being tracked. I'm no Matrix hotshot like Clockwork or Scaffear, but I'm good enough to know that someone's on my scent. Got to install some new security measures. Can't be too careful. Track 5. Right, 2054, the 11th month, the 9th day. Christ, I'm getting too close to something. It's a trail of bodies, and there's been disappearances. Gearbox, Marken, Peregrine, they all disappeared within the past few years. Gearbox just went AWOL yesterday. They were all making the same sort of inquiries about firing that I'd been. There's a ghost story spreading around the Decker community, stories about Decker disappearing and them showing up again later, but wrong somehow. Scary stuff, I'm starting to think that is true. Blitz learns to whisper to you. I know the stories you're talking about, Chief. Never really put much stock in them, not until now. Could these rumours be related to what's happening here? Am I being paranoid? He pauses for a moment, as if seriously considering the question. Then he shakes his head and slams his fist onto the table. No, I don't think so. Something big is happening here, and I'm right in the middle of it. Iger cuts in. That's a bit of a leap. The one thing, Tolstoy told me a story about a kill team that might be related to all of this. Apparently, a decker named Hellebore was posed with a theory about firing to the Shadowrun BBS about 5 years ago. About an hour later, a mil-spec team showed up in meat space and cooked her entire apartment with her in it. If what Tolstoy told me was true, Hellebore live posted the events. He described the killer, this great big orc with skin grafts. Then the whole thread disappeared, gone without a trace. Leap. Iger, my love. Sounds like he's on the right track to me. Iger holds a silence but concedes the point with a small nod. On the screen, Winter pauses. He looks like he's working up to something. He finally speaks. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This has got to be Firewing, all of it. Adrian was right about her. She's still alive and she's out of the socks. She covered her tracks, working the shadows, preparing to rise again. That means that I have to find you, Adrian, for everyone's sake. Thankfully, I've got a lead. For the first time in 2 decades, I've got a solid goddamn lead. I'll backtrack all of the Matrix nodes that Hellebore was looking into back before she got cooked. Whoever has been purging the Matrix didn't think about that. And I found that she turned up. Winter stabs a few keys on his keyboard, and an image explodes to fill the screen on the monitor. A satellite picture of a rural landscape noted with GPS data, a set of map coordinates. So now I've got a target, a place to start digging. The Harefield Manor, conveniently located on an isolated stretch of countryside, miles away from prying eyes. The Matrix records indicate that some sort of data vault exists beneath the estate, so I think that's what I need to get into. And this is where we come in. As in on cue, a familiar image winks onto the monitor to Winter's left. Monica, I think I'm going to tap Scarefair for this job. She's got the skills to bypass whatever security they're running out there, and she's gullible enough to take the job in first place. I'll feed her some line about Flux state security, and she'll eat it up with a spoon. I warned her. Amzel's voice choked with rage. I warned her. On the display, Winter's mouth parts in a broad grin. Time to put my plans into motion. By this time tomorrow night, I should have the information I need. And on the off chance that Scuffer gets taken out, well, that'll tell me something too. Can't make an omelette without all that until then. Winter's image disappears. The final track. When you play the sixth track, a small video window appears. 2054. 11th month, the 10th day. This is a blur of motion. A haggard form of Green Winter lumbers into film. Suspicions confirmed. Scuffer's dead. Christ. Winter reaches a shaky hand off the camera. A moment later, it turns clutching a cheap plastic drink glass. He gulps it down, wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, and takes a deep breath. Okay. Back up. Slow down. Start from the beginning. Winter closes his eyes and makes a visible effort to calm himself. When he speaks again, his voice is steady. Got a call from my contact in the bazaar. Skilf killed on the estate run. Matrix security at the estate cooked her brain. Considering Scuffer's skill and experience, on-site IC must have been extreme, even by Berlin standards. Security of this kind costs money, real money. Given the evidence uncovered so far, corporate involvement unlikely. The connection to Firewing is too strong. So let's come right out and say it. The Dragon is what we're dealing with here, and the smart money says that she's coming for me next. Well, I won't go down without a fight. I still got my contacts, still got my connections, and the Flux state can be a hell of a weapon for a man who knows how to manipulate it. Winter takes another long pull from his glass, grimaces and swallows. Time for me to make my play. Ghost stories or not, missing deckers or not, I've got Jack into the Matrix and start pulling strings. The countermeasures that I installed earlier should be more than enough to keep me safe for 20 minutes if I'll be in there. Winter drains the rest of his glass and tosses it back over his soda. A moment later, you hear the dull clattering sound of a hard plastic on aluminum. Scoff's death was tragic. She was a staunch supporter of the F-state, but still, all things considered. Winter finishes something off screen. A moment later, his hammer appears, clutching a data jack table. Better her than me. He plugs the cable into his head and starts to cut, and the screen cuts to static. You eject the DVD. As your fingers near the ejection button, a black screen cuts in over the static. A moment later, Green Winter, haggard face appears. If you're watching this, then I guess they've caught up to me. They will be after you too now. Blitz whispers in your ear again, more harshly this time. What the hell is this? Why didn't you warn me about this before I came here? Whisper back, not now, Blitz. Hey. Everybody listen up. Whisper back, we didn't know. Not exactly. Not exactly. I didn't come here to get hunted by a dragon. I'm not even a part of this. You are now. Whatever you like it or not, so quiet down and stop bothering her. Green Winters. Whoever you are, whatever you think you're after, you need to find Dr. Adrian von Kleur. Not because he's my brother, but because if Firewing is rising again, he's the only one who can stop her. You've seen what happens to people who get too close to this. I'm dead. Dozens of others have died. You'll be next unless you find Adrian. The screen cuts to black. The DVD tray slides out of the reader. Well, that's worrisome. Let's pet the dog for reassurance. And let's go and talk to our dealer. The room goes quiet as everyone struggles to perceive what you've just seen on DVD. Finally, Dietrich breaks silence. A dragon. Son of a bitch. Green Winter sent us up against a dragon, he mutters. Paul Amsel, the Firewing. Amsel's voice is thick with dread. She lives. I'm really starting to regret the fact, but I didn't just stay at the hotel, says Blitz. Iger ignores him. Wait a second, we don't know for certain. Dietrich lays a hand on Iger's soda. The evidence seems pretty convincing to me, love. I'll even take it a step further. I think the security facility that we stumbled into was her lair. The room falls silent. Iger and Gloria exchange glances. After a moment, Dietrich continues. Just think about it. The decker that Winter got those coordinates from was posting about Firewing, then was killed by that same Orcist bastard that attacked us after Monica died. That's a direct link between the dragon, the scarred orc, and the manor. And when Winters was killed by the same thing that killed Monica, exactly, my gut tells me that the dragon is down there, Black Knight, someplace far beneath the surface. I think that we knocked on the door to her lair without even knowing it. And I think that given what we've seen, the dragon will do anything it takes to keep us quiet about it. Okay, going with the assumption that it is a dragon and that she will come after us, what do we propose we do about it? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to follow Winter's advice. We're going to find Von Claire. I say keep things simple. We head back there, kick the door in, and kill the dragon. Problem solved. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Anyone have any suggestions? Oh, what do you propose we do about it? I tell you what we're going to do about it. We're going to go and follow Winter's advice and find Von Claire. Let's first check room. Anyone have any suggestions? What we need is information. I think we should pick up where Winter's left off. We need to find Von Claire. And now you're planning to do that. How are you planning to do that? Winter spent 20 years searching for him, and it's got him nowhere. With the help of an information broker. Do you have any suggestions? For the task that's magnitude, we need to make a contact with a premium information broker in Berlin. We need to talk to Alice. Who is this Alice? A most prominent figure in the Berlin Sutter community, an ex-Sock Wiener Ritter. She provided the information retrieval services for the F-State. Amsel turns onto the computer console behind him, runs his figure over the virtual keyboard. The machine begins to hum. If Winters was right, if Van Claw is still alive, she can help us find him. The console spits out a stick of black plastic. Amsel plugs it into the computer and turns it to you. Here, your key to speak with Alice. A cred stick? Amsel nods. An encoded credit stick. Yes, 10,000 new yen. Alice will not sew her face for less. This represents the last of my personal savings. Black Knight, make this meeting count. What do I need to go? 10,000 new yen just to talk to her? Amsel nods. Her standard fee. Alice is in a position to ask it, and we're not in a position to argue. Just like I said, why doesn't anyone ever listen to me? Where do I need to go? Take the U-Bahn to Ulstik Sprander. They will find a connection tube to the locals referring to as the rabbit hole. You will find the method of contacting Alice there. Don't call it that in front of her, though. Word on the street is that she hates it. Please hurry. While you're out, I will work on acquiring new contracts for the team. Alice is best thing at what she does, and her services carry a price tag to match. Yeah, this is really bad. Because if it is the dragon we're facing, and she's somehow survived, it's pretty certain that she's going to have government backing. One of the things that you have to remember about the Shadowrun universe is that the dragons in this setting are basically like the most powerful things in it. They run countries, they run corporations, so it's not surprising that they'll probably have a dragon. If the local government is involved, like, it's going to be understandable why. Right. I got enough. I can't afford anything. We could buy some medikits, more consumables, but I don't need anything like that. I mean, I could pick up a basic droid. It says I'm able to use 2 at the same time now, but I haven't got the slots for it. So we're going to keep with the basic one for now. Let's see if the dialogue options have been reworked. Okay, no, that's all done. Yeah, let's get on the U-Bahn. Oh, the U-Bahn. And here we are. To quote Star Wars, a cesspool of crime and villainy. What's this? Pick up. High prick. Accuracy increases by 6%. Increases damage by 3. Increase incoming damage by 3 rounds. Send it to your stash. So that's the thing we can inject into ourselves. Arcade machine. Investigate. The only active console in this directed span of the U-Bahn platform is an old video arcade machine. The CRT monitor set in the machine's cabinet glows invitingly, cheerfully. Pixelated graphics swirl and dance on the screen. Investigate the machine. At the base of the control panel, you find a cleverly hidden input port. The port is shrouded with black plastic and appears to be approximate shape of a typical cred stick. Okay, I've got a bad feeling about this, because if she works for the government and the government is involved, even if she is like a freelancer, she may just turn us over to the government. Insert the cred stick. Internal monitors grip the cred stick and pull it into the machine. It disappears into port and the screen goes black. Moments later, the video image fills the screen. The picture is dark and grainy, a far cry from the bright, colourful sprite that previously inhabited the display. On the screen is a dimly lit office. The place looks like it was pulled straight out of an old detective movie. From the vinyl blinds on the windows to the great swathes of shadow that paint the walls black. Central stage, sitting behind a large mahogany desk, is a silhouette of an impressive-looking woman in charcoal grey suit. The tip of her cigarette glows cherry red in the shadows. She leans forward into the light, and you catch the first glimpse of Alice. Her face is all hard planes and sculpted angles, with high cheekbones and almond eyes. Her lips are painted in a frigid blue, but looking at her eyes is even colder. A head of lustrous black hair is into space with some streams of Cylon light. Alice exhales a plume of smoke, then tips a cigarette into the nearby ashtray. She fixes her eyes on you and her lips curl into a humanist smile. We're on a dime, friend. Tell me what you're looking for. I need to find someone for me. Dr. Adrian Van Clare. She raised an eyebrow. The dragon said, interesting. He's been missing for a long time. I'm surprised you recognise the name. Well, no, he's like, this is. Why would you say that? Like, the Dragon Slayer is like famous. Like, if like you have to remember, this place is like burned by the dragon, and he's the one that kills it. Like, he won't have faded that much. Yes, he is. The question is, can you find him? Oh, if we had decking for no. Oh, if I just upgraded my decking. Oh, decking of 3. If I'd only put that up instead of... Alas. Alright, he's out there somewhere. I'll find him for you. He could be living under assumed name in California, Free State, and still track him down. If he's not alive, I'll tell you where I can find his corpse. So we had decking 4. That's my mistake. I should have upgraded the decking. But I didn't think it was important enough right off the back. Yeah, because I wanted to get the grown control up to get the increased dodds. Dagnabbit. Alright, I'm satisfied. Let's talk about the job. Alice steeps her fingers. Alright, now here's what's going to work. When you give me the go-ahead, I'm going to start gathering information for you. Once I've finished, you're going to bring me a cred stick encoded with the encryption key that I'll provide to you. That cred stick will have 50,000 yen on it. When I get the cred stick, you get your information. That is the deal. Take it or leave it. 50,000 yen. Do you know what kind of money you can... Do you know what that kind of money can buy? Price gouging, huh? For a neo-anarchist, you behave an awfully a lot like an old world profiteer. Alice smiles at you sweetly. I wasn't aware that there was a difference between the two. In all seriousness, I'm charging you what the job is worth. Do you know how much work it takes to find a digital ghost? This is going to be wet work, breaking into government archives. Hell, I might even have to commission an expedition into the socks. This is a serious undertaking, friend. Now, do we have a deal or not? All right, Alice. It's a deal. Okay, but remember, you say go and I go. From that point on, you're on the hook to pay me my fee. No turning back, no refunds. Are we square on this? I don't see what choice I have. I need that information. Hell with it, I'll pay whatever you want. Just get me Van Claire. I don't see what choice I have. I need that information. Good, I'll be in touch. The screen goes black. Moments later, the machine reboots. The colour sprites that you see when you first approach the arcade cabinet return. There's nothing more to see. Alice is gone. Yeah, okay. That's frustrating. I can't switch between my party members because I've only got the dog and the robot. What a fool I was. I've only had Deca 4. Okay, around the surface. I wonder what we would have got if we'd actually confronted her about her identity. Okay, so everyone's back in their positions. No new dialogue. Man, that's annoying. Black Knight, do you make contact with Alice? Yes, I did. She accepted the payment, and I ordered the search for the information we needed. Very good. I can't imagine that it will be cheap. What was Alice's stated price? You're right on that count. 50,000 yen. He shrugs. It is about as I expected. Thankfully, we are prepared for this. I started contact with a number of new clients. You can find information on the jobs logged onto your mission computer. One job file is on there already. While you're working on to earn Alice's fee, I will continue to dig up clues about the Firewing. If she is in fact roosted under Harefield Manor, there must be some evidence to support that. In fact, a dragon is a large thing to hide. After all, be careful, Paul. Remember what happened to Monica. I will not forget. I would never forget. Don't worry, Black Knight. I'm going to conduct my investigation the old-fashioned way through contacts and deduction and careful observation. I will not jack into the Matrix until this entire story episode is finished. That's probably wise. Speaking of doing things the old-fashioned way, Milty is working to recover information off the other DVDs. It's a painstaking process and will not be quick, but she is optimistic that she will be successful in time. Finally, I've checked up on our friend, the orc with the skin grafts. Haven't heard anything back yet, but I'll keep you appraised as the situation develops. Sounds good, Paul. I'll go check out those jobs. One last thing before you go, Black Knight. Samuel Burback wanted to pass a message on to you. Do you know him? The orc who runs the shelter across the way? Yeah, we've met. Well, he has a job for you. He wouldn't discuss it with me, but he promises that it will prove worth your time. I'll keep it in mind. Okay. So our new objectives. Raise 50,000 yen, meet with Samuel Burback about a job. And we've got a drug formula for Jazz. And the game is saved. Right. So I'm going to head out back. Let's just check there's no new dialogue options. Okay. I think this is going to be a good place to put a cut in. If you have liked, please press the like button. If you wish to subscribe, please press the subscription button. This feels just like a good dropping off point for now. And the next episode will probably be a little bit longer, but I'll see you all again next time. Goodbye!